Okay, we'll call this meeting to order, and it's been reiterated over and over again throughout this day, the importance of getting ballot access. And the party does not have a lot of money, and so we're going to have to rely on our own initiative and on our own resources to do much of the work. And as we do that, we'll bring people in the party, and as we do that, more and more money will come. Now, in Wyoming, I've asked the people of Wyoming to give us a presentation on exactly what they did to get ballot access. I'm going to give you a little bit of a background. We tried to get ballot access in 2008 for the presidential election. And anyway, I'm sorry, for the 2010 election. For the 2010 election, we worked very hard. We had to get about 6,600 signatures in order to have enough to meet the 5,000 goal. And anyway, we fell short of that, and several people asked us if we ought to file a lawsuit because there were some discrepancies in the law. But we decided against doing that. We felt we had been given enough time to get on the ballot, and we just simply missed it. We were short. Signatures came in afterwards, but it was one day after the deadline. So anyway, we spoke to the Secretary of State, the people there. We thanked them for their cooperation. They were very cooperative, but boy, we had to dot our I's and cross our T's. They were very strict but very fair. Does that make sense? They didn't bend the law for us at all. And anyway, they were downright impressed that we took the time to thank them for their efforts, for their support. And so when it came time to get the signatures again, we proposed to them some changes, that they make some changes on the ballot access form that we had found a challenge. Because of that, they readily accepted our changes, so the format was changed, and it simplified getting on the ballot much easier this time around. Just changes on the form itself, and that would not have happened had we not cooperated with them. So anyway, a lot of work has gone into getting on the ballot in Wyoming. We've had training meetings. We had people come across the state. We had training meetings, and then we followed a system, and we began April 1st. That was the first day that we could do that. Our training was much sooner than that. We began gathering signatures on April 1st, and it is amazing. It's really shocked us what our system has done, because we have gotten signatures in counties that we didn't succeed in getting very many at all last time. We have, in a period of time, in a period of 4 months, we now have one-fourth of the counties are fully organized. That's remarkable for a party that just was organized last July. And so anyway, I've asked Rex and his staff to give us a presentation. Then we'll turn some time over for questions. Ask those questions, and then I'll give some concluding remarks. And then Bob probably, where's Bob Peck? He's our co-chairman of the West. I'd like to turn some time over to him to give some remarks too. He's kind of tied up outside right now. So Rex, the floor is yours.
I cut this article out of the Armed Forces Journal, and I carry it around everywhere because it makes a great deal of sense, and it applies to what we're doing in Wyoming. General Peter Schoonmaker, who is coming out of retirement to serve as the new Army Chief of Staff, was featured in several items in this column in 1997 and 1998 when he was commanding general of the Army Special Operations Command and the U.S. Special Operations Command. Among them was the following. Schoonmaker felt a little out of place at an academic conference in Boston. A broad-shouldered, rugged-looking native of Wyoming, he told the audience, "As I was running this morning, I noticed that there were more Harvard and MIT t-shirts on the running track than there are people in Wyoming. I think yeah, and that's true. I think I saw the combined population of Snake's Navel and Tin Sleep pass by in one of those skinny boats." Schoonmaker, known for his homespun humor, later remarked, "We're going to have to continue to have quick access to high technology. We can't afford to confuse enthusiasm with capability. If we end up building a Volkswagen, it doesn't matter how many mud flaps we hang on it, or what color we paint it, or whether we wear a cowboy hat when we drive it. It's not going to work like a big Ford pickup when we back up to a horse trailer. Okay? That's the attitude I have taken in many, many things, to include leadership in the Constitution Party of Wyoming. I heard this term today many times, petition drive. We aren't driving anything. We're in a campaign. A campaign has a start, it has an end. United Way has drives. UNICEF has drives. We're in a fight. We're in a battle. A battle is a campaign. We quit using that term really to inspire our people, because that's how critical it is to get Wyoming on the ballot. Our petition campaign started the 1st of April 2011, just a few months ago. Our our requirement is to have 3,740 valid signatures. That's 2% of the popular vote of Wyoming in whatever the last election was. Fortunately, in this last one, it was a midterm election, so I truly felt that God had blessed us with another chance where we didn't have to have nearly as many signatures. That's why it became so critical for us to use the interim between last year and the 1st of April this year to get ourselves organized as a state, organized as counties. We set a goal for ourselves of 5,005. And the reason is we all know that there's going to be some non-valid signatures. So we set that goal deliberately higher. Currently we have officially 3,240. Unofficially it's closer to 3,300 because of some recent events that we were in. And we're sitting officially at 65%. It's actually closer to 66% right now. Our campaign has to end the 31st of May 2012. So we're just about halfway through it. And we're at 66%. So we're ahead of the ball game, much further ahead than we were the first go around that we tried this last year. The situation is this: the bulk of the gun shows, all of the county fairs, the state fairs, car shows, demolition derbies, all of those great gathering events are now behind us. We're entering the winter months in Wyoming, and we still have 34% of the bear to eat. So the 12th of November in Riverton, Wyoming, we're going to have a strategy conference on how to eat the rest of this bear. Anybody know how you eat a bear? One bite at a time. And we're not going to sit there and talk about all these theories and all of this sort of thing. We're going to talk about each county and with county representatives, county chairmen, and whoever they want to bring in there, because they know their counties better than I do. And I learned that as a leader, that you want to know what's going on in a battery, go down and ask the battery commander. You want to know what's going on the gun line, go down and talk to the soldiers firing the howitzers. They'll tell you. I use that same leadership philosophy with the Constitution Party in Wyoming. That's why we're bringing in all the counties into Riverton and having a strategy conference, how to eat the rest of that 34%. That important. One of the things that has made us very successful, Frank talked about it here a little bit ago, is yes, we get outside help. Frank Flukinger has helped us. There's a fella down in Colorado that has come up and helped us in the last one. Those folks are great help. We don't use paid signature gatherers. If we want it bad enough, we're going to work for it. And if we have local volunteers gathering signatures, or at least unpaid ones, they're going to have much more interest in what we're doing. They have a vested interest. It's dollars and cents to anybody else, quite honestly. And when it comes down to that sort of thing, I'm going to get a better result out of somebody that's wanting to do it out of here than somebody that's wanting to do it out of here. One of our critical requirements is that we must run someone for the U.S. House in 2012. That person that we run has to be so strong that they at least garner 2% of the vote. But we heard it here earlier, first we got to get on the ballot. Then we got to find that candidate. Sometimes though in a fight, you're fighting two things at one time. So we're at that point right now where we're gathering the last part of the fight to get signatures, the first part of the fight, the future battle, to gather or to get a strong candidate for U.S. House of Representatives. We've already got some folks that have thrown their hand in the air for county commissioners and county sheriffs already. So. Those are good things. We're organized in 7 counties with strong county contacts in 5 of the counties. And Wyoming, there again, only has 23 counties. And one of the sayings is that we're a large community, small community spread over a great big area. They talked about that earlier. We only have about 3-4 towns that are large population centers. Casper, Cheyenne, Gillette, Rock Springs. Those are about the bulk of it. Everything else is small farming towns. So you have to take advantage in those situations where the people are at. And that's why we took the attitude we're going to be at every one of those events where those counties are having clusters of people. County fairs, real good place. We did very, very well at those. Jennifer Young here is our Goshen County Chairman. She's been quite a trooper. And many of the things that you were talking about, sir, she's been doing, and doing them very well. And she's going to talk here in a few minutes of what she has done and what she has trained her county committee and her county volunteers to do to be successful. And her county is gathered 238% of the signatures that were required. I mean, that's how far above the standard they have went. I talked a little bit already on gun shows, car shows, fairs, Tea Party rallies. I have a new disappreciation for Tea Partiers now that I've been down and seen some of the things that they have done. You notice I use disappreciation. Community days in some of the smaller communities. And then what I like to call targets of opportunity. As we were traveling up here, we hit the last town before we hit the Montana border, Sheridan, Wyoming. And Jennifer's husband wanted to go talk to a friend of his that he had worked with down in Laramie for quite a number of years. Jennifer saw that as a target of opportunity, and in 1 hour had 20 signatures just out basically in front of this guy's store in downtown Sheridan. A target of opportunity. A target of opportunity is a gas station attendant. A target opportunity is a guy pumping his gas. Target opportunity is a hotel clerk. You know, and I was thrown out of the VA hospital down in Cheyenne for asking for signatures. But the security guard, their security police as they call them, came up to me outside and he said, "I'll sign that." Target opportunity, you know, fire that mission. One of the things we have stressed is that whenever possible, be wearing something that identifies us as Constitution Party people. Now, the fellow from Massachusetts talked here a little bit ago about your appearance. So when I crawl out from underneath a 1962 Massey tractor that's broke down, and I got to go 53 miles into town to buy tractor parts, and I got hydraulic oil all over, I don't wear this. But anytime I kind of clean up once in a while.
Why? We're working people. Why don't you wear your button then?
Well, there's a good reason. Generally, when that's happened, I don't have time to go. So anyway, but your appearance is very important. It really is, and how people perceive you. One of the things we found is that one of our signature gatherers at a county fair was standing behind a table eating a hot dog with mustard all over his face and trying to gather signatures at the same time. How many signatures do you think he got? 0. You know, your appearance sends a message. And the other thing that the fellow talked in here about is have no fear. And Jennifer's going to talk about that here in a little bit anyway, so I'm not going to address it anymore. I threw out a whole bunch of stuff here, things that we handed out. We're Second Amendment people, right? Yes. Everybody know what that is? Anybody else got a guess? Gun lock, trigger lock, whatever you want to call it. No, sir. We're Second Amendment people. What good is a locked up gun? It's pretty useless. That's a stock trailer lock. When I pull into the rodeo grounds or county fair or what have you, I don't want somebody stealing my horse. So I padlock a bunch of these together to lock up the corral gates so nobody takes my horse. And I padlock up a bunch of them and throw them around the stock trailer doors so nobody steals my saddle. These go over very, very well at a county fair when you call them what they ought to be used for. Stock trailer lock. We handed out those. Copies, and the sheriffs and the chiefs of police give these things away for free so you can get lots and lots of them. It doesn't cost you anything. The state legislature has this book published. It's a little profile on each one of the state senators, state representatives, our U.S. senators, governor, House of Representative people. And our people use this to profile if what their representatives are going to do at the state legislature down there and how they should be voting as opposed to how they are voting. And those, we hand those out. And they work very, very effectively at those points when somebody does want to ask you a question, well, how did my representative vote? You'd be surprised how many people don't know how their folks vote. Go figure. We found U.S. flags made in the United States. We gave them out. We found all kinds of stuff. Pencils, we had our name put on them. We got these in Idaho, and we hand those out. U.S. Constitution book. Our state legislature authorized the publication of the Wyoming Constitution to give out for free. The unfortunate part of it is when they did that, they really didn't tell the population of Wyoming. So we go down and get lots and lots of copies of these for free and hand them out at all the events. But what you see on these, and then we had bumper stickers made to hand out. But what you see on these is that when we handed stuff out at any one of the events, nothing left our table that didn't have our logo on it, our address, and our website. That was the rule. Whatever we gave off the table had to have our logo on it. Because so many people say, well, I've never heard of the Constitution Party. Well, you have now. County affairs get pretty hot. A lot of people sell water anymore. We gave it away, but it had our logo on it. Lots and lots of people came and got free water.
Yes, they did.
Went through cases of that at the various fairs. We found a place down in Colorado that made constitutions and declarations of independence. The only difference with this one is there's flashcards inside of it for teaching your kids about the Constitution. They work good to teach adults too. But there again, everything that left our table had our label on it. The next thing I wanted to talk about was fundraisers. There's been many things that we've gotten ourselves involved in to raise funds. Many of the small communities have community garage sales, that sort of thing. We had stuff donated, and people come over and buy this, you know, what normally would be junk. We made some money off of them at the various counties. But it was also a signature opportunity. We had another table right next to those in those places where we did that to gather signatures. Worked really well. And now I'm going to relate a funny item. In Platte County at Glendo Days, they set up, I don't know, 4 or 5 tables with garage sale stuff on it, and one table with signature gathering stuff and Constitution Party information. And then right next to him was the Civil Air Patrol. And all those young high school boys all dressed up in uniform saw the county chairman's daughters, who were kind of attractive young ladies, working the garage sale stuff. They gathered, in a little tiny town of 150 people, they gathered in that short period of time 60 signatures and made $72 off of junk, because those high school boys couldn't stay away from looking at those girls, and they sure didn't want to come off as pikers, you know, so they spent a lot of money. You know, we say we're Second Amendment people. Last year, we decided to have an annual Constitution Day dinner, and we would rotate it around the state every year. One of the high school rodeo clubs over where I live does what they call a hat auction. It's quite a fun deal. And they do it against a gun. And I've watched the high school rodeo club go anywhere from $2,000 to $6,000 in fundraising just on a hat auction. We decided to do the same thing for the state. And in the states that are very gun-oriented, it's a good way to raise money, really good way to raise money. We restrict ourselves, and we can pass this around. This was last year's gun, to black powder. The reason is there's no paperwork on it. The Constitution doesn't require paperwork, so we we do a black powder. It's just as deadly as anything else. Maybe quite not as at the long range, but it's deadly. Now, the Platte County Committee decided to do something similar this year to raise funds. They did a raffle on a black powder revolver. And what was so effective about that, that revolver cost them $149, and by the time it was all said and done, they made almost $1,000. And they could advertise tickets at these fairs and demolition derbies, everywhere they were selling them, that there's no paperwork on it, there's no age requirement on it, and if you're out of stater, you can buy a ticket because we can stick it in the mail and mail it to you. Ma'am, the gun was won by a fella down in Carson City, Nevada. She's not listening because she's reading.
Oh, sorry.
That's, yeah. Anyway, the fellow that won that gun was in Carson City, Nevada. And when they called him that night from the Constitution Day dinner, that fellow was so excited that an out-of-stater could win a gun honestly and have it mailed to him. So,
Do you know his name?
yeah,
What's his name?
I'd have to look it up, but yeah,
Be sure you do. I want to make sure he's going to be one of our candidates.
okay. Yeah, his last name's Hanson, I can tell you that right off. But I'd have to look up his first name. Anyway, he won that gun. Other counties are now jumping in on that. Boy, a gun is a good way to make money. And it is. And to what?
Good way to keep your money, too.
Yeah. Anyway, where I'm headed with that is since we're mostly, or all of us, Western region people, you can raise an awful lot of money on a gun raffle or a gun auction at these various events that you might be holding. We're not without our problems. We've got a website, it's up, it's running, but we're not satisfied with it. We've found spelling errors on it, we found out-of-date information on it, and we're at odds with our webmaster, because he's using that as leverage over us. And so we're visiting this weekend with Frank to figure out how to get out from under that to where we have a website and a webmaster that we can control, as opposed to him controlling us. And we have had a little bit of leadership problem. Particularly with one of our county chairmen. And as a leader, it's difficult, if I can use this word, to fire somebody that's ineffective. But you got to. You just got to. Because they'll hurt your organization. And they'll actually begin to drag you down from what your stated purpose and your stated mission is. It's one of those deals where you just got to cut bait and go on. But our strengths are in our other people. And that's what has brought us up to the 66%, is that we've got some good, strong county chairmen out there, some good, strong volunteers that at a moment's notice something comes up, they're out gathering signatures. People spending money out of their own pockets to get advertising going, whatever it takes. They talked about it earlier. Encouraging those volunteers from the leadership positions is really important. Keeps them going. I've had county chairmen call me and tell me, our county has only gotten 3 signatures this week. Encourage them. And I encourage them by telling them this. The last signature is as important as the first signature and every signature in between. Every one of those signatures is important, whether it's 3 or 30. You got to lead from the front. I don't manage anything. The county chairmen don't manage anything. They're not managers, they're leaders, and we have to look at them as leaders. Leaders are willing to go out and travel to encourage people. Leaders are willing to go where the fight is. And the fight is maybe a county fair. It may be in somebody else's county. They're willing to go where the fight is. You got to lead from the front. And there again, that goes back to, if you got an ineffective one, you got to cut them out, because they'll bring you down, and you got to bring the others up. It's so important that we have found that at the county level, monthly meetings, not telephone calls, not email, eyeball to eyeball. Stand up straight, look a man in the eye, and tell the truth, is what I always told my sons. It's important you have face-to-face monthly meetings in the counties with their people. Now, as the state chairman, I go to the ones that I can. I can't go to all of them, but it's important for that state chairman to go to as many of those as feasible. But it is so critical that the counties have those kind of meetings. And then we have periodic state meetings, not one annual one, but periodic ones. They actually shake out to be about once every quarter. Our next one will be the 12th of November and in Riverton, and we're going to have a strategy conference. On the front end of that, the executive committee is going to meet, and we're going to talk about things going on and things in the future fight, such as this national convention coming up, so that we can start getting geared up for that also, and looking for somebody for the U.S. House. And the last point I'm going to make is the only place I ever saw plagiarism to be illegal was at the University of Wyoming. Now, it may be that way at other universities, but plagiarism is the only place that I've ever found it to be illegal was at school. Don't be afraid to talk to other state chairmen, find out what they're doing, and we're borrowing one of the things they're doing. In our next state convention, we're going to have another person on the executive committee. Actually, we're going to have another couple of them, because we think that the regional coordinator needs to be an ex officio member of our state executive committee. And Lisa was telling me one day on a telephone that they have a media person on their executive board. And quite honestly, I can get myself in trouble with the media really easy, really quick. So sometimes it's best for me not to talk to them. And we've got two people that are media experts. One, that's what he does for a living. What I have learned to do in this case is that when I come in for dinner and check the answering machine, if there's somebody from the media that says, call me, I want to interview you on account of the Constitution Party, I call Steve Kiggins down in Laramie. He works for the university as a public relations guy, and he's a newspaper man. I say, Steve, you know this person? Yeah, I know that person. I see him at the whatever they have annually in Wyoming for the newspaper and radio people. Yeah, I know that person. Well, tell me a little bit about him. And he tells me what they know about him. Are they supportive to the Constitution Party, or are they going to try and sharpshoot me? You know, I ask those kind of questions. I want to know. It's called intel, and it doesn't come on a laptop. It's called intel. You got to do the intel to keep out of trouble with them. And then I don't call them back immediately. I go back out, and if I'm setting fence posts that day, that's what I go back to doing. But then I call them at my convenience. And then it's given me a little bit of time to think about some of the things that I want to make sure are brought up. Now, Steve tells me this is a person that he knows to be a sharpshooter and a backdoor kind of person. I handle that real easy too. I call him because I believe in not being rude. I call them back, and when they say, I want to do an interview with you, so I'll be more than happy to talk to you. Long as you want. Here's where I live, bring a pair of gloves, I'll furnish the rest of the tools, and while we're setting fence posts, I'll talk to you the whole time. And afterwards, I'll feed you dinner. Most of those sharpshooters don't want to get away from their telephone or their computer, and that ends it. Frank?
I just had, we have a real asset in Wyoming. Steve Kiggins is a respected reporter statewide. So when we get a release, it's done through him. It goes through Associated Press. It's picked up in Billings. It's picked up in Salt Lake City sometime. We couldn't ask for a better situation. And so some of the reporters are doing all they can to negate that. But Steve has an influence at the University of Wyoming. He's been a radio announcer, and the other parties are just beside themselves to get at us. So what Rex is doing is for a reason. We are getting good reception in Wyoming because of the strategy we're using. And it's because we're very fortunate to have Steve Kiggins. They daren't cross Steve because he's won awards statewide. He was a reporter in Utah, moved back to Wyoming, and has done marvelous things. So we're not complaining about the news media. We're just being very careful. And it's got the Republicans totally beside themselves. So I hope that answers the question.
So. I'm going to ask Jennifer, because what I have done at the various events that her and I and some others have worked at to get signatures is at the end of the day, and some of those days, as many of you are aware, are very, very long days. I'll go back to the camper, because that's what I travel around in sometimes, and I look at those and I analyze what the events of the day brought. And what I found is that for every signature I was getting, Jennifer was getting a signature and a half. So I had to sit, and I began to sit there and analyze, why is she effective, and what do I need to change to make me more effective? And I've done that with some of the other people. I've asked Jennifer to speak on what has made her successful in the signature gathering and bringing her county up to 238% of what their goal was. So, any questions before I get off here? Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you, Rex. Actually, Nicholas and Janine shared some absolutely fabulous information today, and I'd just like to kind of reiterate some of the things they said, because I've adopted those things just kind of naturally. But I do have a story just real quickly regarding fear. There was an American POW who was in a group of POWs who got a hold of some material, and he made a flag for that group to honor. And when they were caught by their captors in honoring our flag, the man who made the flag, they found some of the evidence of that, was taken from that area. He was severely beaten, and he was thrown into a pit by himself. And he lived for a while, and they took him out of that pit, and they returned him to the group of men that he was with, and he proceeded to make another flag. And we're afraid of a no. This is the human condition. fear. That's been addressed a couple times. And this is one of the things that we need to get over. I personally make it a goal to get a certain amount of no's, because once I've filtered through those no's, I've gotten the yeses that I want. And then they're not such a blow. When you focus on that, on making that your goal, then we reach the success a lot quicker. What I would like to say is that you are selling an idea, but you are selling yourself. And so the appearance and the things that we heard of there, that is a big deal. However, you do need to know how to read body language. You can tell when somebody's walking by you whether you're even going to get acknowledged by that person. Now, I know a lot of people will ask everybody they see, but much like Janine said, I don't spend a lot of time standing there talking with them. She says, you move along. I will read body language and not waste time with those that I'm pretty sure I won't get a signature from. I will case who has the open body language, and you can tell. But once you've gotten that, much like she said, move along, move along to the next one. But you're selling an idea, but you're also selling yourself. And so that was something that I wanted to expound upon. When you make eye contact, when you're making eye contact with the people who are coming by, when you present yourself in a manner, and you present yourself in a confident way, whether they believe in your philosophy or not, your confidence will convince them. Also, wording. I heard Nicholas mention positive wording, and one of the phrases that I personally have adopted is there any reason why you wouldn't? Is there any reason why you wouldn't sign this petition? Now, this is going to elicit some responses, either, no, I don't have a reason, I just won't. And there's your quick out right there. But some people are going to be inclined to think about that question and will sign rather than think, okay? So take advantage of that, the fact that most people won't want to think about it, okay? Every once in a while you're gonna have the person that has a ready response. And you need to be able to filter through that quickly and move along to the next person. But wording is everything, confidence and wording. So I would just leave with you, have no fear. Go for the no's. Make your goal how many no's you're gonna get in that day, right? And then when you get all those yeses, it's just a more appreciated success, I guess you would say. But just have no fear, and I would say, let's not relent. I see God's hand working in this party, and He's here. Let's take advantage of that.
I appreciate that very much. I just want to give you a little bit of background, and then Bob, I'm going to let you take a couple of minutes if you'd like. If you don't want to, that's fine. I didn't want to ignore you. But one thing that they did in Wyoming that I found was very, very instrumental in getting signatures from throughout the state is we took the vote total that was received in the congressional race, or just one congressional race. We took that by county. And then we took the total vote that Chuck Baldwin got, okay? And then we took and then we took the vote that Chuck Baldwin got in a given county and divided that by the total vote. So in other words, we proportioned the number of signatures we needed from each county based on the support that Baldwin got. Because we figured, okay, that gives us an idea of where our strength is. And so then we met with the counties a month in March of last year, met with the county, and we said, okay, for example, in Albany County, we needed, we got 6% of the vote, Baldwin got 6% of the vote of the statewide that he got there. So that means that they needed to get 307 signatures in Albany County. We did that county by county by county. That gave each county a goal of what they needed to achieve. Then what we did, we put it on the website, we put it on an Excel spreadsheet. Our treasurer secretary, Gareth is a secretary there, right? He kept track of that. And as the signatures would come in, he would keep track of how many, regardless of where they came from in the state, he would identify them by county, and he would say, okay, we've got so many signatures from this county, that county is a certain percentage accomplished, okay? And then we would feed that information back to our gatherers, and they could see that they were not alone. If they were struggling, they could see that other counties were struggling, and they could also see the counties that were succeeding. And as a result of that, we now have 6 counties that are over their goal. And it's amazing, folks. We are near our goal in counties that we just really, really struggled to get any signatures at all 2 years ago. And had we not set that goal, we would not have opened those doors that we've opened. But keeping your people informed on a regular basis of where their county stands in comparison to others, it drives the momentum. Does that make sense? That seemed very effective. And the counties that were stronger, a couple of counties that were stronger, are not. They've got their goals, but they did much better in 2010, and they're a little bit ashamed. They said, "Well, we can still do better because we can see these counties that are struggling, and we'll help them." But we are now organized in 7 of the 23 counties. That's almost a third of the counties in less than a year's time, folks. That's remarkable. But it's because we decided to get our signatures ourselves. You do not find leaders if you pay someone else to get signatures. It's a lot of work, but that's a critical point of the success.